Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special presentation for Respect for Fish Day. My name is Lisa Levinson. I am the campaigns director for In Defense of Animals, and I am delighted to have all of you here to celebrate Respect for Fish Day with us. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to our Wild Animals Campaign Specialist, Katie Nolan, who has a wonderful program planned for you today, and she will tell you all about it now.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining. Happy Respect for Fish Day. That's today, August 1st. It is In Defense of Animals' 5th annual Respect for Fish Day. So we created this day to bring awareness to the plights of fish, which often go unseen or are misunderstood, and the consequential harms to other animals that come as a result of fish abuse. So Respect for Fish Day promotes fish sentience and protection of fish via different themes each year, including within the pet trade, fishing, ghost gear. Last year, we drew connections between humans and fish by showcasing mermaids. We gave away free vegan tacos. This year, our theme is fish sentience. So we will be talking about what fish think and feel and how they behave, and kind of how this lends itself to why we should have compassion for fish and why we should talk about them within the world of animal advocacy. So we have three fantastic panelists who are fish sentience experts joining us today, Jonathan Balcombe, Mary Finelli, and Chiawen Chiang. So thank you three for being here. We will have Jonathan Balcombe kick us off. He has a PhD in ethology, or the study of animal behavior, and is an author of several books, including What a Fish Knows, The Inner Lives of Our Underwater Cousins, and a children's book called Jake and Ava, A Boy and a Fish. So take it away, Jonathan.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for IDA for organizing this. Happy to be here. Time is of the essence, so I'm going to launch right in. I'll share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes, looks great.
Great. Okay. So I'm just going to go through some of the things fishes are capable of, mainly from science, what science shows us. Science has taken an interest in animals' inner experiences, and that's good for fishes ultimately, or at least so we may hope, because it helps to convince others that they have lives worth living and that they should be protected and respected by us. So a little bit about fish minds or fish cognition. Tool use, for example. This is a tusk fish, and tusk fishes are known for using water as a tool to blow sand off the bottom to uncover, in this case, a clam, which the fish then carries to a nearby rock or a piece of coral. Probably predetermined, the fish knows it has particular places in their habitat that they like to use. And then with a series of well-timed and coordinated head flicks and releases, is able to smash the unfortunate mollusk against the rock to get to the soft tissue inside. So this use of the rock or coral is also, as an anvil, is another form of tool use. Notice the bystander fish on the left, or by-swimmer fish, if you like, waiting for an opportunity to get some of the spoils. They're also very alert and intelligent in their own right. Fishes have excellent memories, despite popular myths. This is a throat-finned goby, which in one day can memorize the topography of a tidal zone where they live, which allows them to jump accurately from one tide pool to another if they want to escape from a potential predator like an octopus or a heron. And they can learn this in one day, and they learn it. Well, how do they learn it? They learn it at high tide. When the water comes in, they swim down among the nooks and crannies, and they form what's called a mental map. And then they can remember that for as much as 40 and more than 40 days later. So they have a prodigious memory. You can do away with the idea that fishes have poor memories. Learning by observation is considered a very high level cognitive skill for any creature, and archerfishes, of which there are 6 species, and they can do this. An archerfish, a young one who has no experience with squirting water at an insect to make the insect drop in the water and then catch the insect that way, can learn and become quite. They're able to do it much better if they've had a chance to watch other ones do it when they're little. than if they haven't had that opportunity. So that's learning by observation. There's much more that could be said about what they do. They're remarkable fishes, but time doesn't allow me to elaborate too much. Fishes are alert, aware individuals. They have personalities. They connect with their humans, and people who have fishes in aquariums, and I'm not recommending that. It's something we should be doing. There's a lot of problems associated with that. But people for a long time have said, those fishes, my fish knows me. They know me from different people. They come out only when I enter the room. And so that's anecdotal, but science actually has shown that they in fact can and do recognize human faces. And the panel on the right shows an archerfish, because they squirt water at things above the water. You can present them with touch pads and test them on this. And you present an archerfish with 40 different faces, only one of which they've seen before. They will squirt water at that one to get a food reward. So that shows that they do have remarkably good face recognition skills, and not just of their own kind, but humans. I think that's pretty impressive. They also have recognition of each other and their own kind, of course. These are two damselfish. That's one fish photographed under visible light on the left and ultraviolet light on the right. And you can see under ultraviolet light, which they can see, and most other fishes cannot, their face has a constellation of marks and dots. It's kind of like a fingerprint, and it's a way that these fishes can identify each other without compromising their camouflage on the reef. Mirror self-recognition is considered a very high-level cognitive skill, and this species called the blue-striped cleaner wrasse has been tested for this, and they passed the mirror self-recognition test. They also recognize photographs of themselves, and the scientists can put their own face, the familiar face, on a picture with another fish's body, and they don't react aggressively to that, but they will if it's another stranger fish's face on their body, and various on their own body. So there's various combinations they can do. They also put dots under their chin, and when they show a picture of the fish itself with a dot on the chin, even if the fish actually doesn't have a dot on the chin, they'll go and rub their chin against the bottom to try to remove the dot. Very clear evidence that they recognize themselves in a mirror. They have a sense of self. This also, bolsters the notion that they have inner lives. And cleaning, by the way, happens in many locations, in many sorts of ways. The blue-striped cleaner wrasse is certainly not the only fish that will come to a so-called client animal, in this case a hippopotamus, to remove parasites, and everybody's happy about that because the hippo gets a spa treatment and the fishes get food. Fishes also fall for the same types of visual optical illusions that we do. In this case, the Ebbinghaus illusion, where the two orange dots are the same size, but because of the blue dots around them, the one on the right looks bigger. You train several different species of fishes have been trained to poke their nose against the larger of two dots. Then you present them with this, randomized, of course, and they would go to the one on the right. So it shows that they're fallible, that they have beliefs, and I think that's very human of them. What about fish society? The way fishes group together and how they interact with others is a very powerful window onto their inner lives. Here's two different predatory species on a reef. The moray eel and a grouper, various species of groupers and moray eels will team up to hunt together to try to catch fishes on the reef. That works very well if they work together, if they collaborate, because the moray eel is like a ferret that can go swim into and pursue a fish that goes into the nooks and crannies of the reef. The grouper can't do that, but if the fish flees into the open water to get away from the moray eel, well, of course, who's waiting? The grouper. And studies show that by working together, by collaborating as a team, they catch up to 5 times as many fishes together. And this also involves referential gesturing, where the moray eel the grouper invites the moray eel to join them on a hunt by doing a head shaking gesture. It's called a referential gesture because it's referring to something that's happening in the future at a later time, at a later place. And that, once again, is considered a very high level cognitive skill. I won't elaborate on that. Time doesn't really permit. Cleaner fishes, again, here we have those blue-striped cleaner wrasses we met earlier with the mirror self-recognition study, and they do cleaning services for various species of so-called client fishes on the reef. And there's a great deal of trust built into these relationships. Once again, they're not willy-nilly. These fishes know each other as individuals. They will no doubt have serviced this particular porcupine fish before. Note that the porcupine fish opens the mouth, lets them in. This is a predatory fish, but it doesn't eat the cleaner wrasses because it's not a good way to maintain and support business relationships if you eat your business partner. And they go in and out the gills where parasites often lodge themselves. So once again, it's a classic mutualism built on trust. The wrasses get food, and the client fish, in this case, the porcupine fish or puffer fish, gets a spa treatment and parasite removal service. Everybody gains. This is a nice example of virtue in fishes, where we have, in this case, 4 different species of rabbit fishes. One, they feed on algae on the reef, and you can see in each picture there's one fish is face down into the reef, getting algae, and they're a bit vulnerable in that position because they cannot see the approach of predators like moray eels and groupers, for instance. Isn't it nice if you can have a lookout? The other fish in each picture is not eating but looking up. That's delayed gratification on that part of that lookout fish, which is considered a virtue. As you can imagine, of course, they switch off after a couple of minutes, so both of them get fed much more safely by foraging as a team than if they work individually. Virtue in a fish. Fishes also have artistic appreciation. This is the nest of a tiny little pufferfish off the southern coast of Japan. And these fishes work for days and building and maintaining these beautiful mandala circular 6 feet wide structures in the sand. And it's probably a product of generation after generation of choosy females who favor males who can do a good job, because that must mean they have good genes and they're going to produce healthy, strong offspring. So it's classic sexual selection and natural selection in nature. And it's sort of built on this, it's a bit like a fish version of a peacock's tail. This is an advertisement of the male's quality, and therefore probably a good one to bear young and raise young with. And I think this, what's the name of this? Clown triggerfish. I love that name, and I certainly love that fish. What a gorgeous fish. And I think it says something about the artistic appreciation that fishes have, that beautiful fishes like this can evolve, particularly on reefs. I see a little heart rising up on my screen. I'm glad that at least one other person appreciates that. What about fish emotions? Yes, they have emotions. Lots of hearts coming now. This is a striated surgeonfish, and they were used in a study. And by the way, by mentioning these not always fish-friendly studies, I'm not necessarily endorsing the methods that were used. Nevertheless, they were done, and they're very revealing. So I'm going to use them to hopefully make it less likely that we'll do studies like that in the future, and that we'll be more respectful of fishes, since this is Fish Respect Day, Respect for Fish Day. They stress these poor fishes out by putting them in a bucket of shallow water for 30 minutes, and then they put them in either the one on the top or the one on the bottom, a tank with a blue stripe cleaner wrasse model, a realistic model that could wave back and forth because it was attached to a motor at the top. The control group on the bottom, there was no motor. And what that meant was these fishes could swim up and get caresses from these fishes. I didn't mention earlier that cleaner wrasses, when they're cleaning clients, will caress them to mollify them if they've done something that they shouldn't do, which is to bite a bit of mucus off the client fish. That upsets the client fish, and one way the cleaner fishes mollify them is to give them little caresses by fluttering their pectoral fins against their skin. And in the case above, where the stressed surgeonfish could get stroked, could get caressed, it's like a massage. They went up to that cleaner fish and got an average of 15 times an hour. They spent time getting caressed, and their blood cortisol levels or stress levels came down quickly. In the bottom treatment, where there was no motor and the cleaner wrasse couldn't move around and couldn't give them any strokes, they ignored it 0 times per hour. They didn't visit it at all. So you can see the title of the paper at the bottom: Tactile Stimulation Lowers Stress in Fish. You could rename it something like Getting a Massage is Pleasurable for a Fish. Yes, fishes do feel pain. This is just pictures of zebrafishes from a study that was done, but I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to just skip over that and just speak a little bit to fish pleasure. Who knows what these mobula rays are feeling when they leap out of the water, when they travel in huge schools, and I think they may have something to do with mating and mate attraction. Some have suggested it's parasite removal. I would vouch that joy is part of what's going on here. That fishes can feel joy. They can certainly feel the pleasure of touch, such as this Nassau grouper approaching a trusted diver to get stroked. Once again, caresses are pleasurable to some fishes. And some divers, like the woman on the left, Christina Zanato, who is a dive instructor and a shark rescuer, they actually use the pleasure touch to calm sharks down and to build trust with them so that they can remove big fishing hooks from their mouths, such as the hook on this blue shark, who was freed from this hook a few minutes after this photo was taken with bolt cutters that they had with them, the divers had with them. So we can do good things for fishes. We can make their lives worth living. We can certainly do much better in our relationship with them. They're individuals with personalities. They're unique. They have feelings. They have emotions. They have excellent cognitive skills. They're full members of the vertebrate group. They belong right up there with the mammals and the birds, reptiles and amphibians. So thanks for the opportunity to share that with you today.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Sure.
So next, Chiao, if you'd like to present. So Chiawen Chiang is the fish behavior and welfare researcher at lab manager of the Water Lab, which uses science-based scholarship to advance animal welfare and reveal multi-species interests. Prior to joining the program at NYU, she was the project manager of Fish Welfare Initiative's Philippines program. And if you didn't know, she is joining us from the Philippines today, which is incredible. So with that program, she led projects to explore and implement interventions that raise aquaculture standards for farmed fish welfare in the country. Her research focuses on highlighting the complex lives of aquatic animals and how their welfare is impacted in aquaculture systems. So take
Thanks
it
so
away.
much, Katie, for the Thanks so much, Katie, for the introduction. And also thank you, Jonathan, for that wonderful sharing of the incredible cognitive and inner lives of these wonderful animals. I'm really grateful that I get to enthuse about fish again with you in this space. And I'm actually really grateful that you're talking about these things, because part of what I'd like to share today is also experiences that I am able to cultivate today as I spend time working in the Philippines, which I'll share later. So I mostly just wanted to start my sort of little presentation by talking about the work that I do with the Water Lab. And then I'll move into talking about the experiences that I've been having during my fieldwork in the Philippines. So the Water Lab is a research, outreach, and education collective driven by the responsibility of belonging to multi-species communities. We specialize in animal welfare science, aquatic animal lives and ecosystems, and human-animal relations. And I think that our work is quite special in that our research is focused around honoring the inherent worth of the non-human world and how we might reconfigure human-animal relations in a way that sees and respects them. So that's part of the work that I'm currently doing in the Philippines. I have been visiting a particular coral grouping, the same coral grouping every day for the past month and a half. And I have been avidly sort of trying to take their perspective through free diving, which is a mode of going underwater by holding your breath. And that allows me to move in the medium of the water in as sort of similar to them as possible. And I'm able to sort of orient my body in all different directions, unlike scuba diving, where you're mostly supposed to be sort of vertical in this way, or sorry, horizontal in this way. I'm able to be orienting myself when, like, with my head facing downwards in all these different directions. And it allows me to sort of move through the water in the same way that they might. And one thing that has been really incredible about this experience is that it allows me to see them as individual beings and sort of approach my relationship to them through this particular lens, and it has opened up a totally different experiences and ways of seeing them. And I think that seeing them fresh as individual beings is, I think what most people in this group would agree is what is primarily missing a lot in this world. As Katie shared previously, I was working with Fish Welfare Initiative before, and oftentimes in fish farms, the focus is really on output and numbers, and that makes it really difficult for us to, in addition to the fact that they live their lives underwater, and we are totally outside from that most of the time, it becomes very difficult for us to see the unique personalities, their preferences, and what makes them truly unique in this world. And so my work in the Philippines is sort of a contrast. where I've been spending concentrated time with them for 3 hours at a time. And I want to share a screen. I hope that will be okay, just to share a visual with the individuals that I've been meeting. 1 second. Hope this is visible. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, it looks great.
Yep.
Yeah. So this particular individual in my hand, I have named her Effie. So she is actually of the same species that Jonathan was talking about earlier. She is a blue streak cleaner wrasse. And she is the first individual in this particular girl grouping who was brave enough and curious enough to come and engage with me as an individual. And we have definitely, I believe, developed a relationship over the past couple of months since I've been visiting them every day. And I've grown to see all these different sides of her or his particular personality that was totally opaque to me prior to coming in here. I've read and researched about the way their cognitive lives, but I couldn't believe like what I began to see just by spending time with them. So for instance, one thing that I would love to share is that as she is cleaning, like when clients come over to clean, there's actually a process of consent that's happening where clients will come to her area and actually face upwards. So their heads are sort of facing up and their tails are facing down. And that's sort of a sign that these particular clients are ready for cleaning. And then she'll come over here and prioritize clients that actually face upwards. Whereas other times I see fish that are just passing through, but she might still want to clean them. And so she'll actually chase them for a little bit. And then these individuals who aren't interested in the cleaning will sort of shake their bodies to let Effie know that, hey, actually, I'm not interested in for a cleaning right now. Go find somebody else to clean. And I think that that's so wonderful that there is actually this process of communication that was unknown to us before, that I didn't really realize, or at least wasn't very popularly known, that they might actually communicate through different ways by positioning their body in a particular orientation or moving their body in a particular way. So that's one thing that I have come to find about Effie and how she relates to the world and how she relates to other individual beings. Also take note that different species might communicate consent different ways. Some might face upwards, some might sort of expand their dorsal fin or the fin on top of their body to sort of like let Effie know that, hey, I'm ready for cleaning. I'm showing you all my body parts. And I think that that's like really wonderful. Another aspect of her life is that I also noticed that she recently found a little hole in some coral, some part of the coral, and she is extremely protective of this. Like she'll go in, come out, go in and come out. And when she sees other individuals that are inspecting that hole, she might even chase other people away. And I think that that's so interesting that they have like the sense of finding something that sparks joy in them, and they can feel very protective about that. In fact, there is another individual being called Finn, Finn, who through an accident like had part of his home actually covered by something. And when this hole was covered, like he actually became very concerned about it. He was swimming all around it, being extremely worried about it. And when I moved like this piece of trash that was covering it, he became extra protective, was visiting it 5 times more than he usually was, going in, going out, cleaning it a lot more. And I think that that's so fascinating that they have a sense of ownership of their lives, that they have like this agency about what belongs to them and what they care about. And they express that through cleaning, they express that through communicating with other individuals who might be interested in that area as well. And so I share all of these experiences mostly because I feel like it's important to sort of add a lot of color to the actual beings that we're talking about. Like, who are they? What do they care about? What do they want? And I think that these are sort of the things that are missing from the conversation that might help in improving ultimately like our relationships with them, instead of seeing them as an entire group, an entire school devoid of uniqueness and individual personalities and preferences. Maybe we should zoom into them and think about what they want individually and what do they care about. So yeah, I'm just these are just a couple of the anecdotes that I have during the Q&A, I'm more than happy to share more. And I sort of maybe want to close with just by sharing that there are infinitely like different modalities of sentience. That's not just how we experience it, like our consciousness, and other species have different ways of experiencing consciousness that makes it different how they experience the world, and how their relationships to other individuals are also colored by that. So in fact, they experience time differently, they have like different emotions, physical sensations are also different. And that just means that the way that they relate to other beings are also different. And I think that that's just important to remember in how we engage with them as well. Thanks.
Wow, thank you. What a beautiful experience getting to like get to know an individual. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So next we have Mary Finelli, who is the founder and president of Feel. So Mary's organization, Feel, is the first organization focused on promoting respect and compassion for fishes as sentient beings. She also chairs the Save the Rays Coalition, which was instrumental in achieving a moratorium on bow fishing contests targeting cownose rays in Maryland waters. Mary authored a chapter in Vegan Voices and co-wrote a chapter in the book In Defense of Animals, The Second Wave. Mary has a BS in animal science. Thank you for being here, Mary.
Thank you all very much for being here and for your interest and concern for fishes, and for In Defense of Animals. Thank you very much for hosting this webinar and for organizing Respect for Fishes Day, for Fish Day. It is such an important event. You know, it's so important. I have been working in farm animal advocacy for decades, really, and trying to help the most animals in the best ways I could. And even though I've been professionally involved for about 2 decades, I really was ignoring the greatest number of abused fishes and abused animals, and they are by far fishes. They're killed in far greater numbers than any other category of animals used for food, and they're killed in some of the most, they're abused in some of the most horrible ways, and yet they receive the least protection or attention, which is why we started the organization Feel. At the time, there was very little attention being paid to fishes. Just a very few organizations were advocating for them as sentient beings. So, but it was a good time to start it, and it's not surprising that there are so many people who don't acknowledge fishes as being sentient, because we live in a culture that's very speciesist towards fishes and really treats them as if they are not sentient beings, or as if their sentience doesn't matter. And you know, I was a subject of the same culture, and I had the same prejudice towards fishes. Like, for example, you know how so many people think that vegetarians can eat fish, and how there's so many laws that even so many animal protection laws do not include, do not cover fishes. There's, for example, the Animal Welfare Act and the Humane Slaughter Act. They're excluded from that. They're not covered by so many animal anti-cruelty statutes. So we really live in a society that's so speciesist towards fishes and so dismissive of them. That's why an event like this is so important, to get people to start thinking about fishes and really realize that they are sentient beings, as science has shown. There's a wonderful book by Jonathan, What a Fish Knows, that goes into the scientific research that shows that they are sentient beings. There are some wonderful videos now. The program Blue Planet explains a lot. It's a wonderful series about fishes and other aquatic animals and how sentient they are and how amazing they are, what admirable beings they are. So this is a wonderful event to get people thinking about fishes and hopefully advocating for them. And one of the reasons we started Feel was to try to get other activists to increase their advocacy for fishes, and also other animal protection organizations to increase their advocacy for fishes, or start their advocacy for fishes, because so many were not paying attention to them. And I have a chapter in the book Vegan Voices that explains how I was also fishes were the last animal that I stopped eating when I became almost vegetarian. And then became vegetarian and eventually vegan. And now there's so much information available. And actually just yesterday, I heard on the radio a report about fishes, and they were talking about how they had Cullen Brown. He's a fish behaviorist from Australia. And he was talking about how he had these, I believe they were goldfish, and he had them and he put them in a tank with a net, and they learned eventually how to get out of the net. And then a year later, he tried the same experiment, and they quickly were able to escape. They had remembered a year later how to escape from this net, which shows it really refutes the myth that fishes have like a 3-second memory. You know, there's been so many myths about fishes now, and now we have the scientific evidence that shows what intelligent and perceptive and curious and sentient and beings they are. So it's getting harder and harder for people to ignore or deny their sentience, although there are still some scientists even who try to do that. But it's almost like being a flat earther anymore to try and deny that fish are sentient, and it really should be intuitively apparent that they are sentient. So a day like this is a great way to think about fishes and learn more about them, and also to try to get other people to care about fishes and respect them as sentient beings. I'm just going to, since we were so late into this presentation, my fault, and again, I apologize, but there's great ways that you can learn about fishes and also help others to learn about fishes. Again, one way is to read the book What a Fish Knows, which is really a treasury of information about fishes. If you go to our website, fishfeel.org, we have fact sheets and videos and a lot of other information on there about fishes, how interesting and amazing and admirable they are. We're very active on Facebook. We post information on there daily, amazing facts about fishes and news about fishes and alerts how you can help fishes. Also, there are so many wonderful vegan seafood products. So on our website, again, fishfeel.org, we have a seafood section with hundreds of recipes and links to companies that make vegan seafood products. There are vegan seafood cookbooks. So a great way to get people to realize how wonderful vegan seafood can be is to share a vegan seafood meal with them. And we go to a lot of events, and we have one of our papers we hand out is a couple sample vegan tuna recipes, very easy and inexpensive and delicious. So that's a great way you can help people realize not only how delicious vegan seafood can be. If people like that flavor, it's so easy to get that with vegan seafood, and especially if they like that oceany flavor, just put some seaweed in, that really gives it that oceany flavor. But also to let them know how much healthier it is for them also. You know, it doesn't have the mercury or the dioxins or microplastics or parasites or cholesterol or saturated fat. Fish is presented as a healthful food, but it's really anything but. It's not a healthful food. And all of the nutrients that we get from fish and from other animal products we can easily get from vegan sources, including vegan seafood. We also have coloring books for children, and there's a book, An Underwater Friend, about a little boy who goes fishing with his father and realizes how cruel fishing is and takes the fish that they catch home and helps the fish and eventually releases the fish again. I know Jonathan also has a book, Jake and Ava, a similar book about a little boy who goes fishing and comes to, you know, care about the fishes. So that's a great way to get children to care about fish. And there's actually one of my pet peeves are these youth fishing contests where it's mainly the Department of Natural Resources, and this is happening all across the country, but also police departments and other agencies invite children to go fishing, and they give them free fishing equipment and give them prizes and everything. And really what they're doing is teaching them to enjoy abusing and killing animals. So it's really a gateway into animal abuse. So a great way to oppose that is to write letters oftentimes they'll post these articles in a newspaper about upcoming events. So, send a letter to the editor, letting them know how cruel fishing is. And some of the other things people can do instead of that, for example, if people want to go fishing, they can go magnet fishing, where instead of a hook, you have a magnet and pull up metal trash down there. And that's getting very popular. It's called magnet fishing or trash fishing. And we've actually gone to some of these youth fishing rodeos and seen children magnet fishing there. So that was really great to see. It's really catching on. Because you think, what other animal is it considered acceptable not only to kill, but to actually torture, or to injure and torture and then release again to injure and torture and kill them again. It just goes to show how speciesist our society is towards fishes. So I invite you to go to our website, fishfield.org. There's lots of fact sheets and other information on there. Visit our Facebook page. Every day we're posting information on there. And we have materials people can hand out. We often go to a lot of events. We'll go to Veg Fest or conferences, and lots of times we'll have a kids table. Usually we have a kids table with books and coloring that kids can do, and stickers and puzzles, and children are really, they're really into that. They really enjoy fishes. They find them so interesting and beautiful and colorful and all, and like to learn about them. And adults too, once they learn about the sentience, the facts that fishes are sentient, they usually are very receptive to that and interested, and want to not cause them needless harm. So I don't want to take up any more time. I know this is so late already, but if anyone has any questions, we're more than happy to answer them, and you can reach us at info@fishfield.org. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. And no worries about the tech issues. That happens to the best of us. We've all been there, so not a problem at all. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I know we're at time, but I don't know, are our panelists able to stick around another 5 or 10 minutes? If not, no worries. But if so, and if some of our guests can stick around, we can take a couple more questions. And then when we send up a wrap-up email, we can include everyone's email if you're okay with that, so that you can email our panelists and ask them questions directly. So we have questions in the chat. I know, Jonathan, you answered them already, but I don't know if you want to speak at all more on whether your book goes into more detail on different fish experiments, the experiments you talked about, or any specific examples you might have of fish having mathematical cognition or spatial recognition, or other examples of that.
They certainly have spatial recognition. They need that to recognize their homes and to return to them on the reef, for instance. Numeracy, enumeration, number stuff. I'm trying to remember. Nothing springs to mind, but as I mentioned in my reply online, if it's useful to an animal to be able to do something, then the chances are they can probably do it. And yes, I do describe as best I can, without getting too jargon filled, the methods that are used in the book for the various studies on pain, on recognition, mirror self-recognition, all that stuff. I do go into those details. I think it's important for people to have a basic grasp of how these studies are done.
Excellent. And I don't know if either of our other panelists have specific examples you'd like to share. I don't know, Chiao, if you've seen anything in the fish you've interacted with. Are there any specific examples of them using tools or having some sort of mathematical cognition, or anything else along those lines?
One thing I think in particular that I'd love to share is their facial recognition. I think that they behave definitely so different around me because I'm with them every day, compared to when there's strangers in the area, like fishermen or scuba divers. They behave like very differently. But it's not just me, they also see other peers in the water as like they have a different relationship with them as well. For instance, just yesterday I saw a foreign cleaner wrasse in the coral grouping that I'm with all the time. And actually the resident fishers of that coral grouping chased that new fellow away. They were like, no, you don't belong here. This is in your area. So they have like a sense of who lives here, who doesn't live here, what place do people live, and where they all are sort of situated within the entire reef. And I think that that's really fascinating that they have a sense of neighborly feelings about like where different individuals belong.
Wow.
And we do have a page on our website called Your Page, where people have told us about experiences they have had with fishes, or how they used to. A lot of people tell us how they used to go fishing and how they came to realize how cruel it was, and why they stopped fishing. And we invite anyone who would like to share their experience with us so we can post it on our website. We'd be more than happy to do that, and hope people will visit the page. It's called Your Page on the fishfield.org website, and see how other people have related their experience with fishes.
Yeah, and on the topic of relations with fishes, there's a question for the panel. Is there an individual fish or specific memory that you can remember which truly sparked your certainty of fish sentience? I guess, how did you get involved with fish sentience? What convinced you that fish are sentient?
I was snorkeling off the coast of southern Florida. This was after I'd already written What a Fish Knows, so I can't say it was really formative, but just an example of a memorable fish encounter. There were lots of rocks near the shore there, and so it's a great place to snorkel because fishes are very drawn to cover and protective places like rocks, nooks and crannies, etc. And one day, and I'd see lots of schools of fishes, and they became somewhat familiar to me. But one day, a tiny little fish, maybe 2 centimeters, maybe an inch long, was just swimming right along with me in front of my mask. And if I stopped, it stopped, and if I went left, it went left, and it just stayed there. And there were a couple of times where I lost sight of it, and I thought, okay, finally the fish got smart and decided to stay away from this bumbling human. And then it would reappear, or he or she, I can't say what gender it was, I didn't know. But I was charmed by this fish who stayed with me for probably 20 minutes. And I actually felt guilty when it was time to get out of the ocean. I wished I could express, enjoyed your company. Sorry, I have to go now. I don't live in this habitat, you do, but I was very touched by the connection with that fish.
I love that story. I think that's so wonderful. And I've also had some experiences of that nature where, like, really, I think fish are truly so curious. They'll sort of look at you dead in the eye, like they're sort of sizing you up and checking you out. And they'll swim around and like look at you from different angles, from the right side, from the left side, from the front angle. Maybe they'll like pretend to forage a little bit and then come back and look at you again. I think that like each individual has a different way of perceiving you and they have like their own way of deciding to what extent they would like to engage with you. In my experience, some have totally ignored me. I might as well be non-existent. And others will look at me straight in the eye, will follow me, will come to my hand. And I think that's very reflective of humans that we know. Some want to be your friends, others just don't really care.
Yeah, and there are also fish rescue groups or groups that take into their home, take in fishes who have been, a lot of times they'll go to pet shops and see fishes who are, dying, and they'll ask if they can take them, and then they'll take them home and try to rehabilitate them. Or, people who just want to get rid of their fish. There's quite a few actually fish rescue groups, and a lot of them have Facebook pages and posts about the experience with the individual fishes and how these fishes can be rehabilitated and learn to interact with the people and recognize the individuals and really just show their personalities really come out when they're in an environment where they are able to do so, a humane environment.
Incredible. Another question, one more. Does Fish Feel conduct any scientific research on fish sentience? I'm not sure if your organization does any supporting fish sentience research, or if it's more just advocacy, promoting fish sentience.
Yes, no, we don't do any independent or individual research or any independent research, but we do post a lot of information about that type of research that's being done and let people know of new developments in the field and, post videos. just as an aside, I'd also like to mention a wonderful video that I hope people will watch is Seaspiracy, about how cruel fishing is. And also in there, they feature for too short a time, but Dr. Sylvia Earle, she's with the organization Mission Blue, and she has been diving for years, decades really, and she's had wonderful experiences with fishes and speaks so knowledgeably and so lovingly and so respectfully about them. And if you go to Mission Blue, you can see a lot of her videos and how she helps people to relate to fishes.
And on the topic of stories and helping people relate to fishes, I see Holly put in the Q&A, there is a video called Holly and Greenie 2024. I guess you can Google it. She's writing a book about her and Greenie's 9-year friendship. So that's exciting. It's great to hear people in our audience have relationships and stories with fish as well. Very good to hear. So the last question we have in the chat is from Amy. I love the story of Chow's first fish friend. I wonder if that fish has offspring, if they would be brought around to meet you. I guess, I don't know. Maybe do you have any little tidbits more about your fish friend to share?
I thank you for that question. So Effie, who is the individual in my hand, she's actually a juvenile. I did only discover that she was a juvenile when I saw another blue streak wrasse who was like maybe the size of my palm. That's huge compared to Effie, who was in the photo earlier. So she is still a baby. And I will keep you all posted when she grows up and she has her when she has her young.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us. Thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate all that you are doing for the fish. And thank you to our audience for being here. We appreciate your support, and happy Respect for Fish Day to everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, we're
Thank
just so
you.
thankful that everyone could come here today, and thanks to our speakers. And these stories were precious. They were absolutely precious. And Katie may know I had a special experience with a similar tiny fish, just like Jonathan shared when I was in Hawaii swimming, and I didn't want to leave the water as well. I felt very bonded to this sweet little fish. And it was one of the most magical moments of my life. So I hope that all of you out there have some special experiences with fishes so that you can just appreciate their sentience and share this with others so that we can all advocate for fish. And we really appreciate you being here and celebrating Respect for Fish Day with all of us here. And we want to wish you all a wonderful rest of your day on behalf of In Defense of Animals and all of the organizations here who joined us, Fish Feel, and that may you enjoy the rest of your Respect for Fish Day today.
And on August 3rd.
And August 3rd, we have a special event that is going to be an in-person event. I put a link to that in the chat. And that will be an opportunity for more people to share their fish tales locally and do some fish advocacy outreach. And that will be in the Bay Area. So if anyone's local to that area, we hope you can join us there.
Lisa, is it also going to be online?
It will just be in person. It's an in-person.
Oh, in person.
Event.
Okay.
Yeah. But we will get some video, and we will share that wrap-up video with everyone who receives our e-news. So if you don't receive our e-news, you may want to sign up for that, which you can do on our website. And we hope that you can tune in to that video and hear a little bit more about how the Fish Tales event goes. So thanks to everyone today. Have a wonderful Respect for Fish Day. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very much.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.